Well, today we have a jungle green N64 unit. It's, just say it's seen better days. It's a little bit dirty, a lot of it dirty. It's got some pretty nastiness to it. I ended up putting a memory jumper in there from another unit. You can see the controller ports are pretty nasty. It's got a sticker on it. This controller port, or a game cartridge port, has seen better days as well. If you look underneath, there's obviously some rust and some corrosion. I haven't even opened the expansion pack slot, but it actually doesn't look too bad from the bottom. The nice thing about this unit is it has all of the coverings for the jungle green unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to power this on and see if we get anything at all. We've got power, but notice we're not getting video, but we're definitely getting sound, and it's booting the game, so that's a good sign. There's Mario Kart, a little hard to play without any video, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try cracking this open, and one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the shell for sure, and the other thing I may do is I may end up just swapping the innards. I know I have a working N64 motherboard with much cleaner controller ports, and I know that it works with audio and video. I may end up just swapping that into this case after I clean it, and then this is going to be my personal copy because green's my favorite color, and it's going to be nice to have a jungle green console, an original. So first things first, we're going to crack it open, see if I see any visible signs of issues that may be causing the video out issue. Maybe it just needs to be recapped, I don't know, but we might just replace the motherboard first, get a working unit, and then we'll troubleshoot that one a little bit later. So let's get to cracking her open. Okay, well, first things first, we're going to pop off all of these, and we're going to pop them into our bin, our washing bin of science, or just our bin of cleanliness, we'll call it something. Okay, we'll get our expansion card out, which is just the normal jumper pack. Pop that out with a flathead, and you can see that thing's got no corrosion here. This one I did take out of a working unit, so we're going to set that one to the side there, and you can see the port in there doesn't look too terrible. Oh, maybe if I can spin this around here. So other than the issues on the outside, it doesn't look horrible, but I think if there were issues with this, I don't believe we would be getting anything. We could be wrong on that, so I may end up cleaning this expansion port out and see if it gives us any better luck. But until then, we're going to crack the rest of this open. I'm going to take this, maybe we'll take this sticker off at a later time. Take our extension port bay out, and then I think I have to take these out to get there. We're going to need our Nintendo security bit. Let's start unscrewing them. We got all of our screws out here. I believe we did. So we're gonna, I think, try to lift it off from the top here. Yeah. Kind of feels a little sticky there. I don't know what they spilled on this, but honestly, it's not terrible. I've seen what I think is worse. We're just going to pop this out. Yeah. Nice squeaky noise. Oh. Ew. That's gross. Chuck that in the bin. We're gonna get our power button, our power slider. And make sure I don't break any of these pieces because they are all original, so I want to keep it in good shape. Oh, I've got the bottom legs here. Missed one of them. Oh, yeah, this is gross. Let's see if I can get that bottom leg out. Well, you know what? If it's not going to come out on its own, I'm not really going to worry that hard about getting it out. But man, I have a feeling that when we take this out, we're going to see some pretty nasty corrosion. Well, let's take a look at the multi-out. That looks pretty clean from what I can tell. So, I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to take apart the cartridge flaps. I'm very excited to see how this thing turns out after a good washing. Yeah. Yuck. Gosh. No. It's almost like they spilled something on it and then just kept playing. Which I guess kudos to them. All in all though, like the stickers look pretty good. The front sticker looks really nice. So I'm kind of very optimistic that it's going to turn out really well. Hopefully I'm not proved wrong. One thing I'll have to do is get this sticker off here. That's going to be a pain. Try to get off without all the nasty residue. Like they got this for in New York for $69.77. Nice. Yeah. And we'll just save that for the washing. Okay, so let's look at some screws here. Looks like I've got one here, missing one there, one here. Not sure if I have to take these off here, 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 here. Let's see. This will be the first N64 I've ever disassembled. This was one of my consoles that I had growing up, not this one in particular. That looks like it comes off. But I did grow up playing an N64. Yeah, that comes off. We'll leave that for now. Okay, keep going. Assuming this will be the last one. Yeah, then we're gonna have to dive into the heatsink here. Nope. Let's see. I think these are actually. Yeah, those are gonna be done. Survey says. There we go. She's free. Alright, definitely gonna get that into the bin for washing. Alright, let's see what we got here. These metal threads are gonna come out. Put those goes there. Now, if I've learned one thing from Nintendo, it's that don't lose these. I know I have a spare that I'm going to be sourcing the motherboard from for this, unless I can repair this. But these little LED lenses are very easy to lose when you're washing things in a big soapy bin. But we are going to try very hard not to lose it. Okay. Yeah. So there's the bottom tray, which is totally got some rust and corrosion there. Yuck. So this over here. Now, pull this out. I don't know what that is, but it's disgusting. It's garbage now. Okay. Think we're gonna get to the cleaning, and then we'll tackle this motherboard at a different time. Alright, well, this is the result of soap and water, and I think this turned out great. We just have a little bit, it's gonna dry a little bit more. There's the cartridge bay, but I mean, look how clean this thing turned out. All that nastiness is gone. I mean, these pieces are looking really good. There's the reset button. No more gunk in any of these areas, so I'm super excited. Super excited to get get this back together. And while this is drying, we can maybe take a look at the motherboard here too. I'm actually going to take this heat sink off if I can. Let's see what we're working with. Might need my big boy screwdriver here. Start over here. Well, I was wondering if that was going to come off or not. Wow. And those are some massive heat sinks. Wow. Those blocks are big. So, just doing a quick once over here. Underneath the microscope rolling now. Alright. So we'll start with the... I did want to take a look at these pins here, because there is one that looks a little iffy, darker than others. That's the fourth one from the left here, right there. And the other ones, but I'm bring some more light in here. Well, yeah, with the additional light, I don't really see any issues with that, at least at first glance. Bring the rest of this into focus here. So we know power's on, despite the corrosion and everything we see over here. And let's take a look at these. Well, a little bit of nastiness on them. on the pins. This is for the, not familiar with the chips on the N64, so that's going to take some research on my end. And those look a little gross, but I'm thinking I can clean them up. I don't see any leakage from the capacitors, although that might be causing a problem right there. That's kind of disgusting. So I'm definitely gonna have to squirt some IPA over this. Ew. Yeah, I mean, the fact that this thing even powers on, I'm kind of surprised by, due to what is in here. Yeah, I don't think that's a scratch. I think that's just gross. So that makes me feel, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it so far. I don't see a lot of corrosion other than the nasty gooey spots, which I don't think is from, doesn't look like it's from leaking capacitors at all. So yeah, we might be in okay shape with just having some cleanup. Worst case, we go through and recap it. Let's take a look at the other side, especially near near the video output here by the multi-out. Where are we? Here we go. It's hard to tell. Okay, yeah. Some of these hairs that are in here look like cracks. But, I mean, all things considered, the board seems pretty clean. I mean, really, for what I expected to see in here. I think the heatsink and that shielding protected it from most of the gooiness. There's a bunch over here and obviously a bunch over here, but I don't know, it's really not all that bad. Well, I feel like, yeah, capacitors. Oh, that one seems a little bulgy. Yeah, it's definitely got, see if I can get it in the light here. Yeah, so with the microscope you can see this one's very flat and this one has some bulge to it. So the right light reflects off of it a bit differently. Then this one up here, same thing. So I might go in and maybe even just replace those capacitors. That one's a little bowed out as well, but not nearly as bad as the other ones. So I may start out with, I may do this cap here, 22010, and a, what was this, 68, and 6810. So maybe we'll start with those capacitors, and we'll do some cleanup with this, get all this nasty crap out of here, and see if we can resurrect the board. Who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. Alright, well, we are going to take off this cap right here, which looks like is C16, which is a 220 microfarad 10 volt, and we're going to be replacing it with an electrolytic through-hole one, but because I don't have any surface mounted capacitors right now, but that should be fine. What I'm going to do is remove it with the hot air gun. So we're going to put some suction out here, and let's see if we can gently remove this cap. So you start floating. All right. Maybe zip the pad a little bit there. Now, stay. Etch that away a little bit. Got our little Dremel here. Okay, well, that looks pretty good. Let's see if some solder sticks to that too. Let's see if I can test on the bottom side where that capacitor comes out, but I can't quite see it right now. Okay. So we are going to now try attaching a capacitor hopefully those pads are going to be okay. Put some flux down. And what I'm going to do is, so this is the polarity, this black on this capacitor is negative, this is positive. So on this one we've got negative, positive. On this capacitor, this is the negative side here, and positive. So I'm going to try to bend this in a way that lets me kind of set it down and then solder to it that way. Pretty much like that. The first thing I'm going to try to do is get some solder on here. So we can clip these little legs off. I'll try to clip this one without lifting that pad any more than I already have. There we go. Okay, well, not as pretty as I would have liked it but I think that's gonna work. Now, I'm actually going to see, I was following the traces for that capacitor, and I think that might be our issue for the video out. So I'm gonna go over and test that real quick and see if it might be, maybe just fix the video out. Maybe we got lucky. We'll see. Okay, well, replacing that capacitor didn't seem to do the trick, so I'm going to actually wash down the motherboard with some IPA and see if that does the trick. But first, I'm going to need this bin, so I'm going to put some of the case back together. I think it ended up turning out pretty darn well. So I'm going to get some of these pieces back together, like so. I'm really excited to get this thing all the way back together, even if I end up using a different system board. And I did end up getting the sticker and all the residue off of this area here. That turned out very nicely. And I was able to get the other leg off as well. Here. So I got both legs. expansion port. And this part is wheel. It goes on like that. We'll save that for later. And the expansion pick, or expansion port. And now this can be on the bottom. It fits in there, like so, I believe. Oh, probably like that. That looks nice. Okay. Our leg. The legs are going to be the hardest thing to hold in without screws. Okay. Switch in. Beautiful. Okay. I do springs back. Try this. Put our hinges in. So this will be the front. Like so. And I need springs. Those go on just like that. Nice. And put this on. Oops. So there we go. Beautiful. Now I'm gonna have to try to remember which screws I had holding these in, as I can't remember right now off the top of my head. So we're gonna save that for later. Now we're going to pop the motherboard in here and we're going to spray it down with some IPA. We're going to zoom in a little bit more. The areas I want to focus on are over here, over here. I want to try not to touch this because I feel like it has it's got something on it which might help connect or might help it make a nice smooth connection to the heatsink, so I really don't want to mess with that. I'm going to start recording now for the microscope here. Let's see if we can if I can make it move along with what we're looking at. I'm not sure if I'll be able to. Yeah. Okay, that's not bad. Alright, got a nice spray bottle of IPA. That's what we're going to use. So, if I can loosen it up a little bit, I might end up not using the camera for this. We'll get in these areas over here, get all that nasty gunk. And you know what? I'm gonna end up getting the thermal pads anyway. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna run the soldering iron right now because that would be quite the fire hazard. This does here. Gross. Now that piece right there, really not good. I ended up having a, oh, there goes the printing on that. That's bound to happen. Man, that's disgusting. Fortunately, I don't think I'm gonna end up with much for the microscope view, but you know what, that's ew, he's pretty gross. So we're gonna grab another. I'm actually going to use my plastic scrubber here. Here. It's pretty gross. There's some nasty stuff on this. All right. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to spray it down one more time, and I'm just going to use this liberally here. So I can open this up a little bit more. We're just going to let it all run down. Let it drain a little bit. Just get it scrubbed away. And I'm cleaning the controller pad or the controller socket ports at a different time here, but I'm gonna get some alcohol wipes here. I'm just gonna wipe down some of these areas. Yeah, those numbers are gone. Might be able to print them back on with a Sharpie or something if I go look at the recording. Yeah, that was pretty gross. And while we're here, let's see how much of that I can get off. Yeah. Well, not too terrible. Use some abrasive pads on it a little bit. But I think I think we cleaned out areas that I was mostly interested in. Let's see if I can get this over and focus it a little bit more. There we go. So need some canned air to really spray out the rest there. But all the chip connections are clean, I think, as far as I can tell. And there as well. So we will let this drain upright, and we'll see how she does tomorrow. After we're all nice and dry, we'll see if we get video at all. I'm not holding out hope. I think I'm gonna have to recap all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 surface mounted capacitors. Not terrible. They're all fairly easy to get to. I can do it in groups. Group these ones, they're all facing the same way. Looks like 68, 68, 68, 68, 4, 5, 6, 7, 68 microfarads, 333s, and then we got some 10 microfarad ones here. So all of which I think I have on hand. So we're gonna let this drain and dry, and then we'll take a look at her tomorrow. Okay, we are back with the N64, and I'm going to try a little bit extra patience this time when I'm taking these capacitors off, because I think if I would have waited a little bit longer, I would have been able to get away without lifting that pad. Luckily, the pad is still attached, and so this capacitor is sitting just fine. I don't think it's going to cause any issues, but it makes it a little bit jankety to work with. So, and I did test it, and it did not fix the issue, so it was not just that capacitor. So I'm just going to recap the whole thing, and as you can see, I've got all my capacitors laid out here. I've got my 220 microfarad, which is going to go here, and we've got our 33s, which are here, here, and here, and we've got a whole bunch of 68s, which go here, 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 and here. And then we've got 3 10s, which are going right here and here and here. So I'm going to try using the hot air gun again, and I'm just going to try lifting them all at the same time, and I'm going to use patience and just try to do this a little bit slower. I might raise the temperature up a little bit more than I did last time, also to kind of heat it up a little more. So without further ado, we're going to get started. I'm going to turn this up to 750 here. And mark for the recording. Oh, okay. Melting plastic here. Okay. All right. And take a look at this one. It did come off better than the last one. I don't think I lifted any pads this time. We're gonna take a look. Yep, that's just solder there. And I don't know if it's could be my air speed that's causing me issues, but I think I'm going to try. I really want to try with the hot air gun, but afraid of melting this thing. We're gonna try it again. Might turn up the air speed a little bit. We'll see how that goes. All right, cheese. Put a ton of pad there. We're gonna turn the heat down. Try 700. Looks like it's a little too hot. Much better. Yeah, another one. All right. Fine. I'll flip this around a bit. Here to get to. Okay, now we're down to the last two here. Okay. Oh, we are decat. Our collection of capacitors over here. So the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to put some solder on these points. Soldering iron up here. And hopefully, I almost wonder if I lifted this over here. We'll have to see. I really did try to be more patient, but it's like a mix between, or a balance between melting the plastic and the capacitors, which doesn't really matter. And I'm just concerned that I'm going to fry the board. But the high temperature of that, it being hot enough to melt the solder at the same time. Well, we'll see. Worst case, maybe I can do what I did over here and shave it down with the Dremel and still attach to it. We'll have to see. I think I figured out the problem. I think those are connected to a ground plane. Okay. Okay, we are going to review the footage, and I'm going to take some notes to figure out which way these capacitors are going to be facing, and then we'll start placing them. Okay, I've got them all mapped out. My, of course, makeshift pencil drawing, but hey, you know what? It does the job. Whatever. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try putting these in the configuration that I think I'm going to have them laid in, and then I'm going to bend the legs. I'm going to do this on all of them, so I'll probably speed up the video a bit when I do this, but just so you can see, I'm going to try to solder them in just like that, or maybe over a little bit more, depending on where the component is. I'll bend that one up a little bit because I'm going to be putting one right there. And if I've got the flux on it, maybe it'll stick for me. That'd be kind of nice. Alright, so these, I've got two 10s, and I've marked on my diagram which way is negative, so that's very important. And this one, I think I'm going to face this way. So we're going to widen the legs out a little bit. There we go. And I'll do it a little bit closer there. This one I think I'm going to bend the opposite way. And I'm going to try to stay away from the shielding because I believe when I put it back on, that's going to cover up some of this. So I want to make sure our capacitors lay about as flat as they can go and not come into contact with this. Which these should be just fine. I can always bend this one that way if I need to. Bend that one the other way. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think this one I'm going to bend the same way as the other one I just did for the 10s. Like that, and then I can bend it back on itself if I need to. Stay there. And making sure that the negatives are facing this way. Okay, and what I might end up doing, we'll do another 10 here, where this 10, I don't know how I had it facing that way. Pause real quick. Okay, for some reason I had this one facing up. That is not how they go. Negative's actually on this side. I'm surprised, and you know what? I think I just figured it out. I was going to say I'm surprised that they don't have the direction marked on the board, but you know what? They do. So I just noticed that the flat area on these capacitor labels on the motherboard is the negative side. On all of these that I've marked, negative is on that side. So that's great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off for now because I'm going to place them as I'm soldering them on. But this is much easier now that I know the motherboard markings mean something. And I'm going to bend this one, I think, down. Bend it like that, and widen it out a little bit. Then I'll be able to bend it back this way a bit, which is good. Put that there. Now we've got the 333s. So I've got 33 microfarad and 20 volt or 25 volt. I did not match exactly what the voltage was on these, but that shouldn't matter too much as long as it's higher than the what the previous capacitor was. If it's lower, bad things can happen, but I always want to stay higher. And I'm going to bend this one. I'll do it this way. Right there. Then we'll do the same with this one. Go a little bit further out, like that. And we have one more 33. Give us some extra wiggle room there to bend it back. And then we've got a 68. We've got a whole bunch of 68s. There we go. Like so. Widen that out a little bit. Okay. That down there at the bottom. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one side at a time. Well, no, now I'm looking at there's only 4 over there. I did not do that one though, so let's do those. Those are more 68s. Obviously all I got left is 68s here. So these ones I'm going to bend this way. We will have to see how well these end up laying down. Hopefully they do okay, but we will have to see. Okay, I think I've got all these laid out how I need to. Next thing I'm going to do is this side. Yet again, we've got a bunch of 68s. This one I think I'm going to lay facing the cartridge slot. So okay, I'm gonna put that up here. And this one doesn't really matter which way we face it. So we're just going to face it away from the shielding. And then we've got these two down here, more 68s. And these ones are going to have to be facing away from the power switch. So just like that. And one more. This one will also face the same way. And hopefully it can lay right on top of its little partner there. It's like I'm trying to channel my inner Bob Ross with the happy little capacitors. Okay, well, let's get to soldering. And we'll do a mark for the microscope. Here we go. Ah. Now flip everything up here. Yeah. Oh, much better. Now I'm going to be doing this thing upside down, so that'll be fun. Alright, got some 33s here. Alright. We got our 33, 33, 33, 68. We need our 10 right here. There's our 10. Okay. I've got our other two pens over here. That's going to be our other 220. We'll face through. 168 here. So we're gonna do this way. Alright, time for the last 4 here. Just making sure that I've got my positives and negatives facing the right way. So, alright, around the home stretch here. So they move in a different direction. Not polarity wise, but I did them in a different order. These put one there. But it's working out. Right, either way. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Whew. That's a lot of questions. But I've seen it. Okay. Whew. So we're just going to make sure this matches up with our drawing that we have over there. Make sure the polarity on everything matches how we need it to. Okay. Everything's checking out. So, well, unfortunately, my recording for the microscope stopped, so sorry about that. But, better luck next time with it, I suppose. Alright, I'm gonna go take this over to the TV, see how it does. Well, good news and bad news. Good news is the recap didn't cause it to fry. Bad news is we're still getting the, oh, I gotta turn the TV on. It's kind of part of the whole deal there. So Mario Kart's playing, but nothing's showing up on the screen. We got audio, but we don't have any video. So I'm gonna have to get out the oscilloscope and see if we're getting like anything coming out over here. Maybe I can do a voltmeter or a multimeter and see if we're getting anything at all. So yeah, but recap worked. Unfortunately, it was not the recap. Okay, we're back with the scope here with the N64, and I'm going to try to see if we got anything coming out on the audio side or on the video side with this unit when we power on. So we're going to power on our oscilloscope here, and we're going to power on the unit. I'm just going to touch here. I'm not really getting anything. And the other, this is the pin for video out. We're also not getting anything. So the interesting thing about this, or the N64 in general, is that this processor here is called the Reality Co-processor. It's super fancy. And it passes digital signal to this, which is a DAC, a digital analog converter. This converts the digital video signal into analog signal, which then runs it over into the composite out for an analog output. There's actually quite a few mods for bypassing this DAC and just going straight to HDMI. So I actually have one of those on order, which is going to tap into these pins here on the side. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect to, I'm gonna tap some of these connectors here. Just need to make sure. Yeah, we're not getting hot, which is good. I just wanted to test that out. But if I turn this on and I start reading some of these pins here, let's see. There's one. It's an auto. I know that some of these pins are in use by the converter that we'll be using, and I'm gonna touch each of them because we're at least getting something out on these, on every one of them, which is good, because that's what we're going to expect when we actually connect this HDMI. It's essentially a ribbon cable. It's going to be soldered down onto these pins, and when I go over to this chip, you'll notice that I think it was 29 that I have to go to, so 32, 31, 30, 29. Oh, 29 does do something. 28, and is it 27? Yeah, 27 I think is the pin out. That is video out, and it's not really doing much of anything. So I think that's our issue. I think something's wrong with this DAC chip, and other than sort of finding another board that I can take this chip off of and cannibalize it, or finding them, online in a capacity that I can order from, I think the HDMI out is going to be our best bet. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if we can just bypass this chip with an HDMI mod, come right out of this Reality Co-processor, and go from there. And hopefully we'll be able to get some video as well as audio out. But we'll see what happens when that arrives. Alright, well today is the exciting day. I've got the high-speed I-Do HDMI adapter from AliExpress, and we are going to try installing this onto our faulty N64 motherboard and see if we can bypass the issue we're having with the display out. So here's the controller output chip, which is where our ribbon cable is going to plug into right there. That's going to be the output for the system, and this is our ribbon cable. And this is going to be connected onto pins 6 through 25 of the Reality Co-processor, which is going to go right about here. And then we're going to be attaching this piece to our 5 volt, which you can actually see 5V right there. It's going to be the 5 volt leg of this voltage regulator. And then this one, that's the controller, so that's what You can actually control settings with your N64 controller. That's got to be connected to this PIF NUS chip, and I think I'm going to have to lift up this capacitor and move it over in order to get access to the pin that I need. I gotta look. It might actually be this one right down here. I gotta do some research to see what chip that's supposed to be connected to. But the first thing that I'm going to start out with is I'm going to start with the ribbon cable itself, and we're going to see if we can attach that to the motherboard and this Reality coprocessor without causing any issues and headaches. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center my magnifier, and we're going to start recording now so that we can hopefully then see everything that's going on. So what I'm doing here, I can zoom in a little bit for you here as well. We're going to see if we can position that a little bit better. Let's see here. That's much better. Okay, so we are going to be positioning this onto pin 6, just like that. And actually, I can see right now, this one pin, I don't know if that's going to cause me issues. You can see it's actually bent up a little bit. You can see it on the microscope a little bit better. That most of them are down, but that one is not down as much as the other ones are. So we'll see what we can do. But I've got my pointy bit on the soldering iron. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to try to get some flux down on here as per usual, and we're going to try getting that right down on the pins here. I'm going to see if I can use this to kind of sticky it to the pins that I need, and if it doesn't hold, I'm probably going to put some tape, like tape this down onto the motherboard a little bit. So that is where I want it. Here I need to get these up along the edge, just like that. See how the solder or the flux is coming through? I need it just like that. And I probably should turn on my soldering iron first, because I need that to warm up. And we're going to turn this to 700. That's been a pretty good number for us lately. I'm going to grab our solder over here and get our suction going, and we'll get started. First thing I'm going to start by doing is doing either side. So I'm going to do pin 6 and then have a pin 10. Running our phone. Well, I'm pretty sure. Just noticed I have this upside down. Good thing to notice first. Okay. So we got that. And I'm actually going to try. Huh? Yeah, a little bit. So what's that? Fine. Yeah, a bit more flux there. Look at my set iron's not getting warm enough in there. This one. Not second. Let's switch my bits here. And then my figure this is my favorite bit so far. Let me see if we can spread it out a little bit. I'm going to turn our soldering iron back down now. Okay, so let's try this. Yeah, that's not it. That's that. Yeah. Jeez. Hey, put them on anyway. Yeah. Well, of course, my recording isn't going, so everybody watching, right? It's a powder wick. Pops down. Alright. Well, that's done. Let's see. Blade. We don't have any grid. I think I do see it. Yeah. So okay. Oh, that's really intense. Some extra lights all over. Oh, right. Okay. Visual inspection. Let's see. So, some. That, that feels good. I think before I turn off this section, we're going to connect that to the 5-volt real quick. And I'm turning that up to 760 in order to get it to flow correctly. Oh, that's connected. So, we'll look into the controller part a little bit. This way. Now we need to. So, we need to do a continuity check. Make sure that I'm not dealing with any soldering bridges. Oh boy. My little probe got bent a little bit, which can sometimes be helpful. Sometimes. Alright. So I want to make sure that these don't have any continuity. Make sure that... Oh. Helps if I'm doing the right... there we go. So, can't tell if those are supposed to be. Oh, yeah, I can see down there. Hold on a sec. Let me get this a little bit closer. It's kind of hard with them being so shiny. I think I see something there. I think that's copper from the solder wick. That ain't good. I have to get that out of there. Everything else visually looks okay. I think I want to get some more solder on these points down here, there. That's all. Hmm. I don't feel much better than that. Let's try our patching again. We're gonna bridges. Okay. Alright, so from pins 1 to 25, we got no bridges, that's good. Let's try the rest of these. Got stuff on my... Those are every other one that I'm hitting. But none right next to each other, which is good. Okay. Whew. Wow. That was not fun. Okay. So I'm pretty sure we got some points that I can test here. Not sure. I guess I can zoom out a little bit now. Alright, I'm gonna pause here and we're gonna see if we can plug this in, and I need to test which one goes to which, but I feel like, well, you know what, I'm real quick. I'm going to test from this resistor pack to... Good, okay. That one looked a little funky, so I want to make sure that it was okay. Alright, we're going to pause. I'm going to see where I need to connect the controller cable, although part of me wants to fire it up, test it out without the controller. But we're going to do it the right way. So we'll be back. Okay, so I've looked into it, and it is this point right here on the PIF, which I'm assuming that's pin, let's see, 14, 28, 14, 15, 16 ports, or pin 16. So we are going to solder over to that point. That's about as good as it's going to get. All right. I think it is time to test. All right, moment of truth here. We've got her hooked up to the HDMI. She's a little uglier right now, but don't judge it. Trying to make this as clean as possible. Got it. Better not rip that ribbon cable off. Okay, so we got it plugged in, hooked up to the monitor. Moment of truth. Survey says she's alive. We've got HDMI out. All right. Oh, this is super exciting. So this has been resurrected. We bypassed the PPU chip, or the digital to analog converter, so the DAC chip, and put her straight to HDMI, and she's working like a charm. So now it's time to put her all back together, and we'll give her a real nice, pretty test. And before we switch back to the HDMI mod, I had to cut away to first show the reassembled jungle green console, which I did end up taking the working unit, or the working motherboard, out of another system, throwing it in here, because this is going to be my personal unit. So I'm very excited about how this turned out. I think it looks beautiful. So just had to show that off, and next we're going to be putting this back into the shell that this motherboard came out of, and I'll show you a few things about how that's going to work. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to be putting back on the heatsink for this. Actually, first things first, I'm going to take this ribbon cable off here, so I don't have to worry about messing up this motherboard, or this system board. I'm going to take out the HDMI adapter there, and we'll set this over to the side. So I had to actually rewatch my my video from earlier so that I could remember how all of these parts went on. Got all my pieces and parts here. First thing we're going to start with is the heatsink. Really, it's the shielding between the heatsink and the rest of the system. So I'm just going to make sure that this lays down flat enough. I don't think we're going to have any issues there, but I do have to make sure that our ribbon cable isn't going to get crimped somehow. That's pretty tight, but let's see how it does with the back on it also, because those kind of are sandwiched together. Let's see how it works. Well, it's a tight fit, but I think it'll do. I don't think it's going to be too terribly tight. Let's take this back off. Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely keep it in place, that's for sure. I hope that's going to be okay. We'll kind of see how it does. Don't think this is... Can that come out the back? You know what? I'm going to try looping this out of the heatsink and see if that does any better. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Gives this some leeway to move a bit. So we're going to keep it like that. I'm going to grab the shell. Now, one thing that's interesting about this shell, let me zoom out here, is, I didn't realize this when I got it, but this is a Japanese Nintendo 64. Now, what you might be asking, does that actually mean when it comes to the console? And I will show you. Unlike a lot of the older consoles, and I guess some newer ones, region locking was a thing with the Nintendo 64, but it was a little bit easier to bypass. So you can see that there's these two little areas here that are etched out. That is because the Japanese versions had little tabs in here that prevented the US N64 cartridges from sliding in here. So you'll notice on my cartridge on the back, I've got two little slots right here, and if I insert this game into the back of here, you'll notice that there used to be something in there that would have blocked that game. The Japanese ones don't have those. They actually have two little cutouts somewhere towards the middle here, and that's really the only difference. So other than that, the boards work the same. The systems look and work exactly the same otherwise. So not really too much of a difference there. But this is the system that I took out and actually put it into the green system. And one thing I want to show you here is when this fits back in, like so. One thing I'm still going to have to do is I'm going to have to clean off these controller ports. But this is actually going to, I think now that I'm looking at this, it's going to have to go underneath and come out right here, this ribbon cable. So I might have to take this off and redo it, because the kit actually has I'm supposed to etch this out here. So this area here, I'm supposed to etch out the bottom, because the adapter board sits like this, but notice there's a little bit of an edge there, and I don't like modifying the cases. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know that that's the case. But I really don't like modifying things like that. So I ended up looking up. There's other options now that let you. They sell new 3D printed brackets here that have a little piece already cut out. So I don't have to use this. I can save this for another system if I want to, and it essentially lifts this motherboard up a little bit and lets it sit without, see, like here it's a little wonky how it's sitting, because it's supposed to sit lower. I'm supposed to etch that and put it in there. But I get a little bracket that props it up and should make it a little bit nicer to put in there. But one thing I want to try to see is how I am going to fit this in there without crimping that cable, because I think this is supposed to go maybe along the bottom, maybe like that. Let's see. I'm going to actually insert this in here. Give us a better idea of what we're working with. Okay, so that's like that. And I guess I really could just put this over it, like so. Just like that. And that should be good to go. What I really want to do right now is I want to test out how this works with the controller, because you're supposed to be able to control the on-screen display with the controller. So I'm gonna put some screws back in here. I'm gonna put this back on, fit it how it was supposed to be. I don't know why that's not going on there. Come on. Everything seems like it's fitting. I feel like I'm missing something here. This piece goes over top. Yeah, that's why they have that there. Ah, that's right. There we go. We'll probably, I'm gonna have to take this apart again anyway. I might end up cleaning some of that out with some alcohol, but I really wanted to put some of this back down so that I can test this without worrying about it overheating. Just have to put these little clips in to actually hold it down on the motherboard, or on the, they hold it down in the case. And I should put those in first, but here we are. There we go. Yeah, I guess I'm feeling okay about that. And this tray here. Okay. Let's see if I can remember which screws go where. That's always the fun part. After I do projects in between projects here, but I think we're okay. So I for sure know, since I swapped the motherboards out, I'm at least slightly familiar with a lot of these. Of course, the cartridge port screws are always the longest. That's gonna worry me the whole time. I'm gonna leave the bracket off because obviously that's not gonna fit. And I should be okay to I'm gonna fit in the HDMI adapter in the back, because it seemed to be at least held in place how it was, even without the bracket underneath. I'll show a quick little view of that. So it sits right underneath, just like that, nice and pretty. Pretty neat, pretty ingenious. People that are way smarter than me figured that out. And figured out this this adapter board, which is just genius. I'm just glad that it worked. Wasn't planning on doing an HDMI upgrade to a N64, but this was kind of out of necessity, I guess. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Okay. Now, get all of our little screws. I know these two go right there. And the one thing that I need to keep in mind is I'm going to be 2 screws short. That was the system that I took this out of, was missing 2 screws. So I'm just not going to have those. But that's fine. You know what? I need to have a look. Ah, yeah. These ones are heatsink themselves. Good news is I don't have to take all these off in order to get the motherboard out, but I do need to be careful. I can just remove the ribbon cable when I'm done, and should be able to pop it out and put the new bracket in. But it should be here in a couple of days. Now the question is, which one of these is the machine screw holes, and which one's the other? I think these are the machine screws. Yep, for sure. And then we've got these last two. The rest of them are just to keep it into the keep the board in the case, but I don't think this isn't going anywhere. I've got these two screws and these ones holding it in. I'm not going to get crazy with the controller, but I am going to plug in the HDMI port very carefully. There we go. Alright. Now we get the heatsink. I can run the games for a lot longer now. Should be able to run them just like I normally would. I'm going to try test out the controls using the controller. We'll see how it goes. Well, bad news. I had no signal when I powered it back on, so I'm going to have to take the heatsink off and see if I knocked any of these solder joints loose. I'm really hoping that I didn't, but it's entirely possible. I'm wondering if I'm thinking it was the 5-volt control or 5-volt connection. We'll see. I'm able to get AV again, but nothing else. First, I thought it was a stupid mistake because I didn't have the expansion port in, or the jumper pack in. Put that in though, and no dice. Like I said, I was able to do AV, but no HDMI. So something's going on there. I have a feeling it's something that happened when I put the heatsink and the shield back on. Hopefully it's not the ribbon cable. Screw down the pinches. Only 16 screws to get off that heat sink. Only 16. Alright. Just kidding. 18. Because I gotta take the controller. Or not the controller, the cartridge slot screws out too. Alright, let's see what we're working with here. Interesting. I'm not seeing any issues. Am I dumb? Did I just put that in the wrong way? I'll just make sure it's in there as far as it needs to go. Alright, we're going to test this out one more time. The heatsink off. All the connections seem good. Yeah, I don't see any issues. So we're going to try this again. Okay, well, good news is it does still work. I didn't have to fix any soldering. So, not entirely sure what's going on, but I'm going to try this again. All I can think is maybe something is causing it to short out. So I'm going to try this one step at a time. I'm going to put this on first and just see how it sits. And if that works, I'll screw everything back in. Well, I'm going to chalk that up to I didn't have the ribbon cable seated in far enough, and we're just going to go with that. Otherwise, I'm going to drive myself insane. So, let's get this heatsink back on. You know what, before I do that, I might as well clean this up a little bit. Set this to the side. And we're just going to get some isopropyl pads here. Should be all it really needs. 2 should do. We're just gonna do this over a trash can. We'll come back and see how it looks. Okay. Well, I think this turned out much better. Not about you, but that looks, I think, much better. So, I put these pieces all back on. Two. There we go. There it goes. Okay. Alright, let's go see if she powers on now. Alright, well here we go, and got my Jungle Green controller connected here. So what you have to do is you have to press A, B, and start at the same time, and that gets our little on-screen display, which we can change the color mode. You can change the video mode to dynamic color. Mild, I'm not sure what mild is. Mild, standard, and dynamic is what we have. Dynamic actually looks pretty darn good. It looks richer, which is nice. And then aspect ratio, you can do a full screen, fit, and if you go to 4:3, it's smaller on the screen, but from what I read, I should be able to change the aspect ratio on my monitor to make this stop stretching, and it should go back to normal 4:3 at full size. So either way, this is working like a charm. We got the plug over there. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is waiting for my bracket to come, and we'll be installing that over here to finally close up the case. And I'm going to mess with the aspect ratio and see if I can fix that up too. But looking promising. Okay, well, I finally got my brackets today, and I'm going to show you the differences between them. So this is the original. See, it says multi-out on there, and it has the hole for the multi-out. This is the 3D printed new version that has a notch at the bottom that is supposed to fit the HDMI port. So we're going to take this off again, and we're going to see how well this fits into place. So I believe that I can put this on without, well, never mind, I was going to say I could put it on without taking the whole thing out, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So we're going to take this out. I'm going to have to undo the ribbon cable here, because I think this is going to be more reliable. And I left the rest out except for these. These. Okay. Should lift out now. Like so. Good. Okay. Next, to lift our board out here, which kind of got pushed down in there a little bit. See if we can pry it up a little. Did not foresee that being an issue. There we go. Alright, so we got that pried up. There's a little sticky pad there. And this bracket is supposed to be to help pretty much so that doesn't happen again. So now we can put that on there. And as we can see, it rests at the bottom like that. All because of that little 3D printed piece there. Now, one thing is I might have to remove that pad, so I don't know how well that's going to rest. We'll see. Let's see how this does here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that pad off. So that's one thing to note. And yeah, because it's supposed to fit against this down there, I'm just going to take it right off from the PCB. If I wanted to, I could probably cut it and reposition it, but luckily it's coming off pretty easily. So we're just going to set it to the side. Let's see how that fits. That's a lot better. Now let's make sure that it fits with the motherboard too. There we go. Well, one thing that I don't like is that this is pushing down on this little circuit board here, which is probably why the original design has this sitting much lower. I almost think what I might do, I might skip the bracket. It would be, if it was a little bit shorter, it'd be better. A little bit thinner, it'd be much better. Because as it sits like here, if I were to push that in, or push it down like that, it's still resting on the edge there. There's just going to be some, downward, well, and maybe not. I mean, with the, I think that'll be okay. So we'll see if we can get this angled in there, pretty much like I had it before. Try not to break any components off. Well, I guess that metal acts as almost like a heat sink for this chip that it's pressing down on. But as long as everything's screwed down, I don't think there's going to be any issues. Let's just not push down as much as it normally would be, I guess. So let's try it out and see how this goes. So the next thing we're going to have to do is put this bracket in between. So this slides on top. Feels pretty solid. So I'm just going to not use the spacer for now. We will see how this works. And if I have issues, I can always break it back open. But it's feeling pretty solid right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the same screws that I had before, and that should be sturdy enough for a little test. And I will just try to be a little more gentle around this area with the screws, because now that I know that that's kind of making contact. There we go. I actually think that little crack was the PCB pushing back down into place. But again, if I didn't see any issues with the HDMI port there, and as long as this goes on straight, this should hold it in place so that it's nice and secure. Not sure how tight to put that right now, so we're just gonna be a little gentle. There's not as much clearance with this bracket as there was with the OEM one. The OEM one, it kind of slid right through it, but no issues with it cracking or anything like that so far, but I want to make sure I'm very gentle with that. It's just 3D printed. Okay, I think that looks pretty nice. Feels pretty solid. I'm going to give it another twist on this side. Make sure that it's even. Yeah, that looks and feels good. This motherboard is tight. It's not, I don't think it's going to have any issues. So we're going to leave it as is there. And we're going to fit our ribbon cable back in place. This is nice to be able to disconnect it, but it is, it doesn't line up exactly. It's kind of a pain in the butt to put it back together. Be warned. Okay, I don't think that's right. Okay. That I think is straight. Holy moly. Okay. Make sure that okay, that should be clear. Alright, let's try her out. Alright, worked like a charm. So, I think this bracket is in good shape here. Let's screw this in. We're going to add our screws back to the rest of the motherboard to secure it in place. And then we will close up the case for good. We'll start with our rest of our motherboard screws. And I gotta remember that one of these holes did not have a screw. And as I look at it, I believe that is this one here, because that will connect to a screw hole on the top shell of the case. Initially in the video I had said that I was missing a screw, but that is not the case. Interesting. For some reason this one seems shorter than the others. It also is not going in as well. Try grabbing it out there. This might just be stripped. Look at it in comparison to this one. Well, they look the same, so I don't know. Let's try swapping them. Oh. Must be that metal bracket. That was what that is screwing into. Those little drop-in brackets. And I know I got them on this side. I know I got it on the other side, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, but let's do a little test shake. Seems okay. Even if this one is not as tight as the others. It'll be alright. So, I think we're in good shape now to close her up the rest of the way. Closes right up on it like so. I think that looks pretty slick. Okay, now we'll put in our security bits, which I don't think I have all of them. We'll see. Start with the corners. And with this shell, you do have the Japanese version, but covered that earlier, that the only real difference is that cartridge slot having the different notches. Oh, that did not sound good. Well, I think one of the posts just shattered for that corner. That's not good. I'm gonna break this open again. This one's definitely not as good a shape as the other shell, the green one, which I'm a little more happy about anyway. But let's see. Oh yeah, there's some shaking around. That's what broke off right there. And this, wow. One piece there. One piece there. Wow, wasn't really much to it. Right here. There, that was flipped. Almost looks like that was glued in place once before. I'm going to try doing this without that post. Let's see if we really need it. If the rest of them go on okay, I'm not going to worry about it. But if we have any issues apart from here, then we'll have to super glue. Apart from here. So that was out of frame. We'll do this a little more gingerly, since we're obviously working with some brittle plastic here. This thing's missing its feet as well on the front, which I can probably get some replacement ones at some point. But alright, so we're going to do this front one right in the center, and then we'll work on the front feet. Not sure where that screw came from. Another one of those posts broke, and I think I know why. It's because this one is supposed to have the foot in it. I knew that as I was going in that was going to be an issue. Shoot. Well, let's see. This case has definitely seen better days, but for somebody that's going to just be using it day to day, I think it'll be alright. Still like the shaky. Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. check him out. Well, there we go. I actually made it tighter. The problem is we've got some extra pieces in there now. Yeah. Well, I'll get those out at a different time. But at least for now, this N64 is at least functional. I may end up looking for a better case because this one's definitely gonna have some issues in the future. Not in its best condition. But that's a trial for a different day. Till then, we at least got it working with HDMI. I'm gonna hook it up one last time so you can see the results again, but we're gonna call it a day. Alright, well I've got a new shell because the other one that I had was really, like, literally falling apart. So I've got another one which is an actual USA or NTSC model, and it's in pretty decent shape. It was much, much dirtier when I received it, but I'm going to drop the motherboard into this unit and see how it works. And the one thing I am going to test out also on this one is I want to see if this fits any differently in this case than it did on the other one. I'm not entirely sure that it will make much of a difference, but I'm going to try it out anyway. Well, actually, interestingly enough, I think that did kind of make a bit of a difference. So I wonder if it was just the bottom of the shell. Let's have a look. Another piece fell out of the shell. But, I mean, looks like it's about the same. Maybe it is slightly different. Let's see. See if I can take this out and do a little bit of a comparison. Let's see here. Like so. I mean, they really, I don't think they look much different at all, but this definitely didn't fit as well. I feel like it's fitting deeper here. Maybe not. I don't know, maybe I was just fitting it wrong before. Not entirely sure. Either way, I think it fits pretty nicely here, so I am going to use it. Drop that in there. And I need to get my LED lens. There we go. Alright. First I gotta take this out to put that in. I don't have enough hands. Okay. That's good. So we start screwing it back together. See if we can keep this one from falling to pieces on us as we're putting it back together. I'm going to try being a little more gentle with the screws this time around. Ah, shoot. Really gotta place the new output shroud on it. Go over just like that. There we go. Okay. Let's try this again now. Got all of our screws here. very leery of screwing these into the case now because of the issues I had before. We're just going to take it nice and slow. I may even, so these are the screws that I took out of the other board. These are the screws I took out of this board. So I might just try using these instead. The specs on them might be slightly different. Japanese versus US, I wouldn't think that they would be different, but definitely did seem to fit a little more snug. So we're gonna try to keep the screws the same, other than these ones. These motherboard ones I kind of have to use because the case did not come with its own. Yeah, that's going in much easier. Could be that I already like retooled the threads there, but you know what, that seems pretty darn solid. So I think we're gonna call it good. Let's see how these ones do. See if I can angle this out a little bit so that you can kind of see what I'm doing without my fingers always being in the way. Yeah, notch. Okay. Good. So now we'll start putting in motherboard screws. You know what, I'm excited to finally get this thing closed up for good and get it over to somebody that can use it. I'll leave these 4, which means the rest of them should be for the top. Nice smooth power and reset button operation, which is nice. Our jumper pack in there. I like that one's a little bit cleaner. We'll flip it over. Got our expansion port cover there. This one actually has all the legs to it. So now we'll switch over to our security bit, security driver, and hopefully we don't get any cracking. Fingers crossed. We'll take it slow. Feeling for that to be snug but not too tight. I think I got it. Just taking it nice and slow. Definitely feeling better already. So I don't know if that's an issue with the Japanese models, but this one I'm having no issues, knock on wood. Shouldn't say that before I have all of the screws in, but it's feeling already so much better. Maybe it was just that one had previous issues. I don't know. And there's one more, sweet. So it did come with all the screws. I did not count them beforehand, but all right. Feeling good, looking good. Looks nice and solid. There's our HDMI port. That is just going to be unused. I do want to share that I did try something that came to me the other day. Didn't work, but I wanted to try out one of these. So this is a multi-out to RF out. I'm sorry, multi-out in, AV in to RF out. And I had thought, well, maybe it'd be worth a shot to see if it somehow is able to, you know, maybe it was an issue with the connector still and not the digital to analog converter. But lo and behold, this actually produced less signal. So it didn't even produce audio, whereas with the AV out, I was able to at least have audio, even if I didn't have video. So I did want to share this. This is my last-ditch effort to see if maybe multi-out would work in some way, but turns out I think that it is that digital to analog converter chip, and it's just dead. So we got this all back together. Everything is plugged in, so we're gonna pop it over to the TV and do one more test. All right, well, I was able to get this to work on the CRT over RCA, but in order to do it, I had to jump over a little bit of a hoop. So I have this HDMI in to AV out adapter, and I found that if I put it on, let's see if I can get it here. So it's in aspect ratio mode number 2. If I do 1, we get this. If I do 2, it does this. 3, it does a little bit, it's like an overscan, it's wider than the screen itself. But if we do 2, and I do color and standard, if I do it in dynamic, it gets a little funky. Standard looks a lot more natural. But this looks beautiful. Let me do a reset here and just show you how clear this looks. I mean, that looks really, really nice on a CRT. Going from HDMI out to a CRT. What I may end up doing, I think I want to hook up my other N64 and see if I can do these side by side to see which one looks more crisp. I really think the HDMI over RCA connected here looks really, really good. But I want to hook it up to the just native multi-out to the CRT and see if that looks any different. So I'm going to hook that up next. We'll see how that goes. Alright, well, I've got them side by side. This is actually my childhood N64 that I grew up playing. This is the exact one. And this is my exact version of Mario Kart that I grew up playing with all the chords and everything. So I'm going to hit reset here and maybe. Alright, we're going to start this up again. So this is doing RCA. And you can see, I feel like there's some like anti-aliasing, or not sure what to call it, but there's edges. So this is what it looks like over the RCA with the CRT. I'm actually going to unplug the controller on this one, because we are going to unplug and plug in our other one. We're going to restart it. And I don't know about you, I'm going to have to do a side-by-side comparison of these to really be able to tell, but I think that looks really good, really nice and crisp. The edges are super smooth. So I don't know. I think it's a clear winner. Definitely, I think this HDMI mod, where it's just bypassing that digital to analog converter, I think makes the edges a lot smoother. It's a lot more crisp than the multi-out. the analog out. So I think this is definitely a win. And the ability to hook it up to your television is an even bigger win. So I think we're going to consider this case closed. And I don't think we're losing out too much on missing the multi-out. If you really miss it, you want to hook it up to a CRT and you don't have HDMI, get yourself an HDMI converter that goes HDMI to RCA out, and you're in business. So we're going to switch it back over to the other one real quick, over to HDMI out. And there we go. So hope you enjoyed watching. This was definitely one of my more favorite videos to have made. It was really fun and challenging getting the HDMI mod set up. Feel free to throw any questions that you might have in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.